Big Mike and Hayes Entertainment here.
Let's go.
Today's episode, we got Al Murdoch, the Canucks announcer.
You hear him at the games. He's announcing all the goals. Let's go. If you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button.
Hi, it's Al Murdoch, public address announcer for the Vancouver Canucks of the National Hockey League, and you're listening and watching I Only Touch Greatness.
The number one sports podcast in Vancouver with Ryan Hayes and Big Mike.
Oh, you should be able to hear us now.
I got you, man. I got you. How are you guys doing?
Good. Nice jersey. I do. Last second, I just ran. I'm like, oh, geez, I got to put on the Pedersen jersey.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Al, for taking your time today and coming on for us. We appreciate it.
You are very welcome, gentlemen.
I'm Big Mike, and that's Ryan.
I'm Ryan, by the way. One time, you announced me I was the mini Don Cherry.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. You were outstanding.
Yeah. We're just going to ask you a bunch of questions. What got you into it in the first place? And where did you...
What got me into PA announcing?
Yes.
Well, I had an opportunity to do a Major League Baseball tournament that came to Vancouver back in the early 90s, if I'm not mistaken. It was the Baseball Classic at BC Place.
This is I Only Touch Greatness podcast with Ryan Hayes and Big Mike. We are going live.
And I had been in radio for many years leading up to that. And of course, he knew I was a big sports fan. And he said, listen, I don't have a PA announcer. You want to do it? And I said, sure, why not? I knew the formatics of baseball, just being a fan and watching the Mariners and the Jays for many, many years. So I knew kind of the formatics of what a PA announcer does in terms of baseball. So once I did a few games there, it was a number of years later, the Vancouver Grizzlies came to town. I had an opportunity to audition for them at the very last minute because I missed the auditions actually. And I phoned them up and just said, listen, I missed the auditions. What am I going to do? Can I come down and see you? And they let me down to come down to then General Motors Place, auditioned with them, on the mic. And then back in the day when we still used VCRs, they threw an old tape of a Houston Phoenix game, turned down the volume and said, do the PA, pick the home team, do the PA. I was a huge NBA fan, knew all the players' names, so that wasn't an issue. And they hired me on the spot. So that started kind of my tenure as the PA announcer for the Vancouver Grizzlies for the years, granted a small number of years that they were in town. And then I had an opportunity in 2011 to fill in for John Ashbridge, the late great John Ashbridge.
Yes.
When he had some health issues, and I filled in for 2 or 3 games in that run, in the playoff run in 2011, and then kind of came in as his backup, and slowly he kind of eased into retirement. And of course, unfortunately, we lost John to cancer a couple of years ago. So
yes, yeah, we remember that. That was a loss. Do you have any favorite? What is your favorite sports franchise if you can't pick the Canucks?
Oh, in the NHL?
No, any sports franchise.
Any sports franchise. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll be honest with you. I grew up in Winnipeg, so I'm immediately a Jets fan. Back in the day when they were not even in the National Hockey League yet. So I was a huge Jets fan growing up. But then I moved all across the country, lived in Barrie, Ontario for a couple of years, played hockey out there with the great Shane Corson. Him and I played hockey as kids. And so I never really was a Leafs fan, even though I lived outside of Toronto. I actually was a Flyers fan. I was a goaltender. So Bernie Parent was my idol growing up. And Reggie Leach and Bobby Clark and Ed Van Impe and all those great players of the Flyers. And then we moved out to the West Coast when I was we moved out here the first time when I was relatively young. So I got to see the early Canucks, literally Orland Kurtenbach and Dennis Verdegaard and Dennis Kearns and, all of those great players. So I immediately became a Canucks fan and have been ever since. So the fact that I'm now announcing players in the current Canucks is a dream come true for me, for sure.
And obviously Jack Magelhardy, which had just passed away. Pretty sad as a Canucks fan.
He was a gem. He was a very, very nice man. I mean, if you can go back and you can watch him play with the grit and determination, and he wouldn't back down to anybody on the ice. He was always that first guy in when somebody needed a hand. And he not only was like that on the ice, he was like that off the ice too. He was very instrumental in getting the Canucks alumni going and made it as strong as it is today.
That's for sure.
One thing I'll never forget is his handshake. Like when that guy squeezed your hand, you knew he squeezed your hand.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the mitts on him was just. But he was, you know, those guys that were kind of known for dropping the mitts and being tough when they needed to be. Those are always the guys that off the ice are the true gentlemen, the guys that you really respect because they knew their job on the ice. But as soon as the horn blows, they're in the dressing room, and it's a completely different thing. So we will miss him. He was a heck of a guy.
That's for sure.
Absolutely.
We had actually met Jack a few times over the years, or as recently as even November.
Yeah, at the Hockey Fights the Homeless.
And the Canucks alumni was there. And
yeah, he will be missed for sure.
do you have a personal highlight or lowlight?
A personal highlight as PA announcer for the Canucks or anything that I've done?
Yeah.
Sure, anything you've done.
Anything that I've done. Well, I mean, I've had lots of highlights. I've had an opportunity to do lots of things. I mean, just being the PA announcer for the Grizzlies for the years that they were here to announce not only the Grizzlies players, but to see the likes of Michael Jordan and to see Shaquille O'Neal, to see Akeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Kobe Bryant, those types of players literally 2 feet away from me because I had center court seats for every single home game, never missed a game. So, to see that was a highlight for me. Being able to fill in the shoes and to, carry on John Ashford's legacy as the PA announcer for the Canucks, that's definitely a highlight. And that has taken me to China to do the China games. It's led me in to do the World Junior Championships in Vancouver a couple of years ago. And of course, the NHL is now, selected me to do their big events, the AllStar Game and the Winter Classic and the Stadium Series in Colorado Springs this year. So I'm a very, very, very fortunate guy who, is very grateful to be where I am. It's taken a lot of work, but this job nothing is lost on me. I'm very, very grateful to do that.
Yeah, that's for sure. I won a little side bet with one of my friends once that I heard you at the All-Star Game, and I'm like, I swear that's him. I swear that's Al. I swear that's Al. And my guy's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And a couple days later, we finally got to pull up who it was, and it was you. So.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun. I mean, to announce the All-Stars and all the players, in all the divisions and all the teams, and to work with, Tom Calhoun, who's the public address announcer in St. Louis and has been since 1987. He has not missed a game. He's done over 1,500 games. And so to work with legends like him and Jeff Kay in Dallas, and of course Alan Roach, the great Alan Roach in Colorado, who's not only the voice of the Avalanche, but has done many Olympic Games and Super Bowls and stuff. So just to work with those guys is a fun thing too.
And plus, you got to announce the ladies when they were there at the All-Star
Absolutely.
Game.
Yeah, and the first time that they were a part of the All-Star experience, and the crowd was they loved it, and I think it's something that they should bring back every single year for sure.
Oh, I think they will. We had Rebecca Johnston on a couple of nights ago, and yeah, she really enjoyed her time there as well. And another name you name dropped earlier, Shane Corson, friend of the show. We've had Shane on a few once for sure.
Absolute beauty.
Yeah,
real nice guy.
Yeah, salt of the earth guy. He's a guy who grew up and lost his father, of course. That was a real rough time for him, but and he went through some struggles in the league for sure. But when I played with him, we were relatively young kids, but you could see back then he was just heads above anybody that we played. I mean, I think the year that I played with him, and I was a goaltender back then, so it wasn't fun in practice with him for sure. I think he scored 102 goals. I mean, it was just crazy. And to see where he went from being a real skilled kind of player like that to going to juniors and then to kind of go into the National Hockey League and turn into the player that he was, I didn't know that he had that in him, but he certainly made a career for himself. So
What was your first goal call and first penalty call?
First goal call for the Canucks, it would have been, because it was the 2011 series, it would have been against San Jose, if I'm not mistaken. I think the first round. You know, and I'll be honest with you, I can't remember. I can't remember. I think just because I was, you know, I literally got a call that day saying, John's in the hospital. I was flying back from vacation, whipped down to the rink, did, you know, a few notes real quick. You know, I think it was all a blur, considering I was just kind of thrown there with a few hours notice. But in terms of, you mentioned a highlight earlier, probably the highlight for me in terms of Canucks so far, it has been the last regular season home game with the Sedins, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Just the way that you know, the first goal was scored, the way the last goal was scored, to just see them, the class on the ice and off the ice, and just to be a part of that experience. It was a pretty emotional night for everybody, obviously in the stands at home and everybody that was watching. But for us, you know, who was announcing their names for so many years, and to announce them as co-first stars at the end of the game was pretty fun too. So.
And also being a part of the ceremony, the retirement ceremony was huge as well. Because I was there, I got row 5 seats. It was 120
Nice.
in section 122, right where they were walking out of the Zamboni spots. So.
Yeah, there was a few tears being shed.
I made it on the big screen. I'm glad it wasn't the moment that I was crying my eyes out.
Yeah, I hear you.
Would you say that's your favorite game you ever announced then?
I would say, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it was something that I will remember just because of the historical, you know, it was in a historical event. It was the last time that we were going to see them, you know, in a Canucks uniform. Jersey at Rogers Arena. Of course, they played Edmonton the next night. But yeah, I would say so. I mean, there's been a lot of fun games. You know, beating Boston 9-2. That's always fun. You know,
absolutely.
To announce that many goals and to hit that goal horn as many times as I got to hit it. So there's a lot of those types of games. I mean, when I went to China with the Canucks and the LA Kings to do that in Beijing and Shanghai, to announce those goals in another country, you know, in front of fans that may not necessarily know the game. So we had to do a lot more explaining and a lot more of that kind of stuff. So to be as an educator for people in another country has been a lot of fun. So there's been a whole lot of highlights for sure.
The Winter Classic, I mean, that would have been unique as well.
Well, yeah, you know, 80,000 people at the Cotton Bowl. You're in a stadium that you know, it's got such historical significance in sports. Just to wander through those you know, concourse areas and to wander down onto the field, it's pretty spectacular. And then to, you know, the game was okay. The game was, you know, it was all right, but the crowd. I mean, there had to be 28,000 fans from Nashville there. So
wow.
There was a lot of great, you know, back and forth between Stars and Predators fans, and to, you know, to say that, you know, your voice was heard in the Cotton Bowl is something that I'll remember too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm a big college football fan, so I know how much that stadium means.
What's it like working with Shorthouse and Garrett?
It's good. You know, I don't have a whole lot of you know, interaction with Shorty and Cheech. I mean, they're in a completely different part of the building. They're in the Jim Robson, you know, broadcast gondola, and I'm actually on the other side of the building, right next to the press box, next to the Canucks alumni. But we know each other. I've known Shorthouse for years. I used to be the voice of City TV back in the day in CKVU when Sports Page was there. So I met him many years ago, and I actually really got to know John Garrett on our trip to China. You know, when we flew that fantastic charter aircraft, Shorty and Cheech sat right next to me along with Murph, and it was great because we had a long flight to chat with each other. So we learned a lot about each other, you know, outside of hockey, which was always kind of fun.
So you must know the legend Don Taylor pretty well then.
I know Donnie. He lives a stone's throw away from me, as a matter of fact. So
then you must be right here in Anmore, because we're right by the John B. pub.
Oh, there you go. Spent many a night in the John B. pub over the years.
Yeah, hey, that's where I am for every football game and most Canuck games. After the game, when I'm at the game, we always come back to the John B right after. So
Nice. Yeah, no, yeah. I'm just a little. I'm not in Anmore. I'm just a little down from Anmore. But yeah, I see him actually quite often. We run into each other. I'm down at the local rink every once in a while watching, friends of mine, their kids play, and I'll actually volunteer and do some PA down there for some of their championships games when they need me. If I'm not busy, I'll help them out and do that. And he's of course got kids in minor hockey and coach, and we see each other walking our dogs in Bird Flame Park all the time too. So we stop and chew the fat every once in a while and see how each other is doing.
Awesome. So you don't actually travel with the team then, right? Other than obviously the China trip.
Yeah, no, like every team in the league has got their own PA announcer. Where there's, we call ourselves the PA Brotherhood. We all respect each other. We all, help each other out. As a matter of fact, too, we've set up a website for all of us PA announcers, where at the beginning of each season we announce every player on the roster, whether or not they're going to be a full-time player or they're going to be down in the AHL or the East Coast Hockey League or going back to junior or whatever. We will record every name, post it, so that every PA announcer can go to, the Vancouver Canucks site, or I can go to the Minnesota Wild site and see how their PA announcer announces it, just because you don't want to announce their names incorrectly, obviously.
Yeah, I was just gonna...
So we help each other a lot, which is really good. I mean, there's a rivalry between the teams, but in terms of our profession, there's 31 of us, soon to be 32 with the Kraken coming in.
Yeah.
So, we want to help each other and make the league look good and make it grow.
What's the hardest name you've announced, or is there any names that stump you once in a while?
Hardest name to announce? I think there was more of those kind of, not really concerns, but just going through YouTube and going through all of the research that you have to do for the World Juniors, just because there's teams from all over the world that are coming in, and of course players that you don't necessarily know. So what I do in terms of pronunciations is do a lot of research, and then if I can't get it, I'll go to the visiting play-by-play people and say, how do you announce this guy that they've just brought up from the AHL? Or I'll go to their media relations people and just say, how would he like to have his name announced? Like, we're playing Minnesota here coming up on August the 2nd. Well, for years it was always Zach Parise. Well, now it's not Zach Parise. Right? Or Zach Parise. It's now Zach Parise.
Oh, really?
It's not Parise anymore. It's Parise.
Okay.
So, he wanted his name announced differently after being in the league for so many years. So once we found out that, well, now you got to make a mental note. That's how he wants it done. So just like Elias Pettersson.
Yeah.
Well, he always, and of course he had a lot of fun with that at the beginning of the season. He, played around with it and said, well, now I want to be known as Pettersson or Peterson, or this or that. And I think he, because he's such a funny guy, and so we just went down and said, listen, how is it going to be? This one, Elias Pettersson. So when you hear me announce it, I'll announce it kind of the Swedish way at the beginning. It'll be, scored by number 40, Elias Pettersson. And then when I announce it again, Vancouver goal, scored number 40, Elias Pettersson. So I'll get them both in there just to make it, just to make everyone happy.
and honestly, just hearing you say that right now just gets the blood boiling. I just want to hear it again.
Oh yeah, me too. I feel like I'm at a Canucks game.
Well, listen, I know people miss it. I miss being there. I miss working with my game presentation guys and women. And we're a pretty tight knit group who want to put on a great show for fans as well. So we are all missing it and can't wait at least to watch it. Coming up the 29th, of course, with the exhibition game against Winnipeg, and then we get down to real hockey again on August the 2nd.
Yeah, that was one thing with me. When this year is my first year as season ticket holder, because of the Don Cherry thing, I started going a lot of games last year. And then, so this year is my first season ticket holder. I'm like, okay, we're going on a cup run. We're going to win the cup this year. We got Quinn Hughes, we got Pettersson, and we're going on this cup run. Then, boom, now we're on this cup run, and I'm not even able to be in the stands.
I know how you feel. Listen, it would have been my first playoff, as the PA announcer since 2011 when I did one game. So, I was looking forward to it just like everybody else. So it'll be different, but not having hockey for over 4 months, whatever way we can get it back.
Yeah.
Whether we're watching it on TV with no fans in the stands, I can't wait for it to start.
Sometimes you appreciate it more when it's been gone for so long.
Well, and that's life in general, right? You appreciate things when they're gone.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Canucks to announce?
Favorite Canuck to announce? Well, I do have a lot of fun with Bo Horvat's name for sure.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, we always hear it.
It's and that was just one of those things that it just kind of came up one night when we were talking about a pre-production meeting, and I just went, I want to start putting a little bit more of me, into the announcements, and so when I did the Bo Horvat, doing that, and then crowd really took to it, and it's like, okay, well, now that's his signature thing. Pedersen's got his. Tyler Toffoli, so every single one I try to make a little bit different than the other, just to make it stand out, because people may not realize it, but every single time a player scores or gets an assist, gets a point, it's a milestone in their career. So you want to make it a big deal every single time. As opposed to when, the opposition come in, then you make it as disinterested as you possibly can. No, I don't make it as disinterested. But you know what I mean? It is definitely, you got to show them a little bit of respect, of course, but it certainly isn't as pumped up as a home goal for sure.
How do you feel about the team going to Seattle and being named the Kraken today?
I'm first off, I'm just so surprised they've kept it a secret for so long. From what I hear is that they, basically picked the name back in January. I think they solidified it in January, and kept it under wraps for so long. I like it. I love the logo. I think it's really fantastic. And, there's going to be some people that aren't going to like it and whatever. I mean, I think people are going to take to it. And my biggest thing is that now we have a rivalry. I mean, obviously we haven't really set things up yet. There's got to be a few games. There's got to be some games with each other. But now that we've got somebody so close to us, we've had rivalries with Boston, we've had rivalries with Calgary and all that stuff, but it wasn't as close as it is now. So to be able to go down, and actually watch a Canucks game in Seattle, if you're a huge fan, it's like growing up as a kid when my dad and I would go down and watch the Sonics play.
Yeah.
Right. And in the Key Arena, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be great for both cities. I can't wait.
That's for sure. And as soon as we get that high-speed transit line going, the rapid transit, or the SkyTrain, we call it.
The bullet train. The bullet train is going to go
that'll
through.
Be awesome.
That's a few years off, but that'll be fantastic.
I mean, even driving, because I go to a lot of Seahawks games, so even driving is 2 hours from my place across the street from the John B. to the stadium. Like, if you leave early enough in the day, you're bombing down that highway, and it's not a bad drive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, hang on. How did you get into the personalized messages and doing the voiceover?
Well, it was I think it was the 14th of March, if I'm not mistaken. And the season had been canceled. It was the previous Thursday. I know it was a Sunday night, and it was going to be the first. I think they were in Arizona when the season got postponed. Yeah. I think that was on a Wednesday or Thursday night. So the next home game was going to be on Sunday, and it was going to be against the Jets.
Yeah.
So I was out with my family. We went for a walk. We walked around Bunsen Lake, and I was thinking, normally, I'd be prepping for the game. Normally, I'd be going through, the lineups. I'd be going through milestones. Okay, is it someone's 200th game tonight? Is it someone's 400th point? All of that stuff that I'd be doing normally, a few hours before the game. But I was out for a walk, and it was fantastic. But I was thinking, I'm not working tonight. Yeah. So I came home, and I went down to my studio, and I was doing a little bit of work for a client, and I finished the voiceover session, and I thought to myself, well, how about if I just do a few mock goals? Just pretend that we were still playing the game, and so I did a couple of goals, for the Canucks in terms of current players, and I announced 2 or 3, And the reaction that I got was just immense. I posted them, on TikTok and on Instagram and Twitter. I might be the oldest person on TikTok, by the way.
Yeah.
So I got such a good positive reaction. But then after thinking about it for a while, I was kind of going, well, I love doing the current players on the team, but it's almost like I'm taking something away. They haven't scored that goal yet. You know what I mean? Like, everyone wanted me to do a Jake Virtanen goal for obvious reasons. And, I was thinking, well, I don't want to take away something that he hasn't even done yet. So that's when I thought, well, why don't I bring it into the fans' perspective and make it more inclusive and bring people into it and let them hear their names like I would announce a goal at Rogers Arena with putting their names or their kids or their uncles, aunts, coworkers, teammates, whatever. And once I started doing that, well, then it really blew up. I mean, the requests, I've received thousands over the last 4 months, and it's been really good, not only for them, but good for me, because I get to connect with Canucks fans all over the world, not only in BC, but across Canada, the States, New Zealand, Indonesia, South Africa, Mexico, all over the world. I mean, it's been fantastic. So I wanted to bring the spirit of hockey back into people's lives, albeit for 60 seconds, but also give them something that they can go, listen, he announced my name just like I was a Canucks player. So, that made me feel, like I was giving something back as well. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm wrapping it up on August the 2nd, because I said I would do it until the puck drops on the play-in series. So.
I'm dying to hear you one day call him Shotgun Jake.
Well, again, it's I wanted to make sure that it was okay with the Canucks that I was doing it as well. So after the first couple, I connected with them and said, listen, is this okay? I'm changing it up. I'm bringing in fans, and they just loved it. They thought it was fantastic, and a little free promotion for the team always helps too. And in terms of current players, I'm not doing any of them because I want to make sure that the next time that I announce a Canucks goal, it's a real one.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Canuck of all time?
Wow, I've been asked that question many, many times. I mean, I always look back to, when I was 6 or 7 years old. My dad had season tickets, and he would bring me down to the Coliseum, and we would watch Orland Kurtenbach. We would watch Dennis Kearns. We would watch, Chris Odlefson, Gary Smith. So I was kind of bring it into kind of decades. So those types of players were the ones that I was watching as a youngster. And then you move into the Darcy Rotas and the Stan Smeals and the Tony Tannys and the Thomas Gradines and, Kirk McLean's. And then you move into the era of the West Coast Express and Bertuzzi and Morrison and Naslund. And I've got so many. I don't think I could narrow it down. But I do have a lot of respect for the Canucks alumni. So a lot of the players that are still on the Canucks alumni are some of my favorites, just because not only do I get to see them, when they're doing certain events, but I see them at the games too. I sit down and have dinner with Thomas Gradine. I sit down, and chat with Darcy Rota and Dennis Kearns and Chris Odlefson and all of those great players that are still a part of it. So I can't narrow it down to one, because it's I just have so much respect for anybody that can work that hard and become a professional athlete that are also nice guys. Thumbs up for me.
Yeah. You got a tough name coming up soon with Pod Colson.
Yeah, well, I remember announcing him when we had the draft, because I worked the draft when it was in Vancouver, and when they drafted him. We had all of the list of, I think, the top 50 players, I think, and a brief description that as soon as their name was called, I'd say, Vasily Podkolzin, and it lists his stats and all that kind of stuff. I can't wait he's just a firecracker, and he's just, his center of gravity is just, he gets into the corners, he's got skill. So I think the future's bright. I'm really excited about some of the young players that are becoming into this organization. And we're such a young team right now too.
Yeah.
How about those young guys that we still have that still haven't blossomed into players that we know that they can become, and they're already dazzling us with their.
You think you got guys like Cole Lynn that haven't even made a mark on the team yet, but he's there on the depth chart. But then you have a Holglander come in, and you have Podkolzin come in, and
Hopefully,
Yeah,
Jet Wu.
We really like Jet Wu too, because we met him a few times, and we were lucky enough to meet Pod Colson right before the draft that day too, right before you announced his name. He was very nice, very little English, but he was very nice and took time to take pictures with us. And
yeah, and he'll spend a little bit more time, in Russia and get even better. So by the time he gets here, he'll be raring to go.
so, what do you think if the Canucks end up in one of those 8 teams that got the first overall pick, and the Canucks end up with it? What do you say we trade it to Ottawa? You give him the first overall pick and Eriksson, and you take 3 and 5.
You know what? I leave that kind of stuff for people. There's certain things that certain fans want, and I know you guys, you guys probably think about it way more than I do. I certainly think. I'm just happy seeing when a young guy comes in, regardless if he's the first overall pick, or the 6th, or the 15th, or whatever. Look at Brock Besser. Look at what he's done. You look at some of the other kind of, you look at a guy who wasn't even drafted. You look at Alex Burrows and what he did, right? You look at those types of players. So the draft is the draft. It doesn't guarantee that any of these players are going to be superstars or are going to do anything in the league. You're just drafted. That's your next step, and then you move into. So now listen. Look at highlights of Podgolzin and Höglander and all those guys. It's fantastic, but it's a whole different ball of wax when you get into the National Hockey League. And if they can succeed that way, then bonus to them. And I will announce their names just as excited as anybody else is.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm hoping Zach McKeon makes a name for himself. It looks like he's having a good training camp here, so hopefully he can make a good playoff name for himself, because he seems like that type of player too.
Yeah, well, I think Travis, he's been on, Travis's radar for a long time. I think he's a guy that he really likes as a player and as a person. And then another guy that, just goes to work, brings the lunch pail in, coach tells him what to do, he goes in and he does it. And those are those types of players that you need to be successful on. I don't care what kind of sport you're talking about, whether it's hockey, basketball, football, soccer, whatever. You go in there, you do your job, no ego, and I can't wait. Listen, I've been a fan of his. I've been watching highlights of him down in the AHL for a while too, and he's a big body. He's got a good shot. His skating's getting a whole lot better, and he's not afraid to go to those dirty areas, all those cliches that I'm using, but I don't care. He's one of those guys that I think that if given a chance, giving a little bit a longer stay, as in terms of just having a cup of coffee, I think he'll really show what his worth is.
And he's always there, ready to drop the gloves and stick up for a teammate too, which is what the Canucks need. When Pettersson and them are getting pushed around, someone's got to be there.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see how that, in terms of that type of play happens with all of the stuff that's been going on over the last 4 months. It's going to be interesting to see those first few games, how players are going to play. Is it going to be as rough and tumble as a playoff series has been and traditionally is, or are people going to just kind of step back a little bit? Because these guys haven't played in 4 months. You can scrimmage all you want. You can have one exhibition game, and then you're thrown to the wolves. So it'll be fun to see how things happen. And will the young guys come up and go, okay, I'm going to take it by the reins and take it? Will the older guys, get injured? Will there be back, hip, groin issues going on with some of these older players that don't heal as fast? But there's so many unknowns, and that's what makes it so compelling. Is that I don't care what anybody says. You get through that play-in series, you make it to the round of 16, anything can happen. Minnesota is a very good team. They may not be as skilled as us on paper. I think we are better in terms of goaltending than they are. I think up front, our forwards and scoring is certainly on paper a whole lot better. But again, it's only a 5-game series.
Yeah.
So that always scares me when you go back into the day when it used to be 5 games, and that changes the whole aspect of playoff hockey.
Obviously, we've never seen a defenseman like Quinn Hughes. Are we getting Rookie of the Year this year, do you think?
Well, I want him to be Rookie of the Year.
Obviously.
I do too. I don't know. I mean, it's Cale Makar's a great player. He's and then he got injured. That that always hurts his chances maybe a little bit. But who knows in terms of the vote? Are they gonna vote and kind of go, well, we can't have another Rookie of the Year in Vancouver. We can't put him back to back. We can't. So there's a lot of political stuff I think that goes on behind the scenes too. I'm just assuming. I don't know.
I wonder when the last
I would love him to be Rookie of the Year. I think he deserves it for sure.
Yeah, what he was saying here about the last time that happened, I'm not too sure. I know that it has happened where 3 teams are 3 years in a row, like we had Besser, Pedersen, Hughes. Like that's happened before. But have you actually won back-to-back years? I don't know.
Yeah, the statisticians out there, there's somebody, going yes or no. Better hockey minds than mine would know it. But to see him grow, and again, I've only seen Makar. I mean, I saw him at the Stadium Series, and he had an okay game. He didn't have a great game, but that's just one game, right?
You got 5 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay, I wanted to just see who you thought was going to come out of the playoff rounds. So
again, I couldn't even guess because again, this is so different than having a regular season end. You know where you were, and then you've got a few days to get prepared for your first series, not 4 months. I'm not a betting person. I don't bet on sports because I just don't know enough about it. I think in terms of the Canucks and the Wild, I think the Canucks, if you just look at everything on paper, I think we were in the regular season. I think we were 1 point ahead of them, which really doesn't mean anything. That's a wash. I think they had 3 more regular season wins than we did, 2 of which were against us. 1 was in a shootout, so you can throw that out. But I think it's gonna go 5 games. I'm guessing it's gonna go 5 with the Canucks coming, but then. Who do they face after that? Well, we don't
know yet.
It's Dallas, it's Vegas. I can't remember the other whatever the 14 is, but then you're playing against them. But they're going through the same sort of stuff that we are. They're away from their families. There's so much stuff that's happening outside. They're going to be in their bubble. They're going to be focused on hockey, which is fantastic. But you got to remember, there's so much stuff that's going on in this COVID-19 age that mentally you don't know what's going on in people's heads. I know how it's affected me and my family and my friends and loved ones and stuff like that. And we're not playing professional sports. We're just trying to do what we have to do to get through this thing. So I'm not guessing. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. You can put your money down on on whoever team, but you tell me, who do you think?
I picked the Canucks in February to win the cup on Bet 365. So
okay,
I put $20 down. It pays out like 10 grand. So I'm hoping.
Well, I hope it works out for you. Because then when things clear up, you can invite me down to the John B. and you can buy.
Yeah, it's for sure. I would buy you a beer. You ever run into me in the John B? They're my unofficial sponsor. Hey, we want to thank you for coming on and taking the time. We know we kind of rushed it a little bit today, being a last-minute thing, but we've tried to get you on. We've been trying to get you on for weeks.
No problem. It's been my pleasure. I always like to chat with diehard Canuck fans, and just from your room behind you and your knowledge of the game and the fact that you're a season ticket member, I respect that. And
and a mini Don Cherry,
mini Don Cherry, the whole bit. And you're a Tri-Cities boy just like me, so that's another thumbs up. So it's been a pleasure chatting with you guys and connecting with Canuck fans. I always like doing that. Hi, it's Al Murdoch, public address announcer for the Vancouver Canucks of the National Hockey League, and you're listening and watching I Only Touch Greatness.
There we go. Thanks, Al.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Have a good day.
All right, man. Cheers.
All right, nice to meet you.